Hey everyone, it's Mzansi Investor here. Today we want to delve into our investing strategy. But to begin, we'll start with the risk disclaimer. Everything that is shared on this channel does not constitute financial advice and it should not be treated as such. And as you can see at the top, we have a logo of Trend Trader. That's because we are affiliated with the channel. Okay, we mentioned that we'll be using dividend yield as one of the fundamental metrics that we'll be using to pick stocks that we'll be investing on for our retirement plan. So, but to begin with that, we want to share with you some pitfalls that are associated with using the dividend yield metrics. So the way that the dividend yield is calculated, they use the share price and also the dividend that is paid by the company. So the equation for the dividend yield is the annual dividend that is and it's divided by the current share price. So whenever you're looking at the dividend yield on a certain day, the dividend yield will change based on the current share price of the market. And also, as we know, in South Africa, most of the companies, they pay dividends twice. So there's interim dividend and the final dividend. So when they say annual dividend, they mean the combination of those two dividends. So yeah, as we mentioned before, the current share price changes every day because the share prices fluctuate. So if you check the dividend yield today, it will be different from the dividend yield the following day. So now to get the dividend yield in percentage, you multiply by 100. So now the pitfall of using dividend yield as an investing matrix is that if the share price decline, the dividend yield changes, and sometimes the value of the dividend yield increases, but now that gives you half the information. So now just to make an example, as you can see, we're just gonna make the assumption that the dividend yield of a specific company is fixed for the 3 years of investment. So if you look here, the company is paying a dividend yield of 10 rand per share. So now in year one, the share price is 200 rand. That gives you a dividend yield of 5%. But in year two, the share price drops by 25%, 250 rand per share, which increases the dividend yield to 6.67%. And then on year three, the share price drops by half from year one to 100 rand. So now, as you can see, the dividend yield now is at 10%. So if you look at if you filter companies using the dividend yield and you find a company that has a dividend yield of 10% on that particular day or on that particular year, what if the company has been declining? So if you were invested from year one up to year three, you would have lost the value of your stock would have been halved, but would still have earned the dividend. So now I want to make some examples using the company Octodec. Octodec, it's a real estate investment trust. They own some buildings, especially in Gauteng. If you live in Pretoria or Johannesburg, you will know City Properties. Octodec is the holding company of City Properties. So there are other investment in addition to City Properties. Then you look at Octodec from February 2017, the share price was trading around 20 rand per share. The company kept on paying dividend, but as you can see from 2018, the share price was sort of flat, and then sometime in 2019 to 2020, the share price started to decline. So now, as you can see, you would have received dividends at least in those 3 years, because one of them is an interim dividend and the other one is a final dividend. So a combination of these two makes a one annual dividend. You would have received dividend 6 times, but what would have happened is that the value of your stock would have decreased dramatically. So now other people will make a case that they still receive dividend, but yeah, the point is, if you look at the dividend yield as it is, if the share price decreases, the dividend yield will shoot up. Another example is Sasol. Sasol is one of the people's favorite stocks, as we know that Sasol has been declining for quite some time. As you can see, Sasol at some point was trading somewhere around 500 rand per share, and they were paying dividend consistently up until to a point whereby it peaked somewhere around 550 or close to 600 rand per share, and then started declining So it declined a bit, consolidated. There was a bit of a retracement back to 500 Rand per share. They paid the dividend. But as from 2019, the share price started declining. As you can see here, we don't see some D, the distance for dividends, the P it's for patterns on the candlestick. So we're not going to look at the P, we're just going to focus on the Ds, which are the dividends. So as you can see, it seems like from somewhere mid 2019, they haven't paid a dividend. But you would still have received dividend, but the value of your investment would have decreased dramatically. So now, what's the solution to this? As we are affiliated with the YouTube channel Trend Trader, we are actually trend followers. So our belief is that the trend is your friend, meaning that we want to invest in securities that are in an uptrend. So just to show you that, again, the dividend is fixed, but the share price keep on appreciating. But you will notice that every time the share price appreciate, the dividend yield decreases. So as you can see, from year 1 to year 3, the share price of this stock increased by 50%, but the dividend yield decreased by about 1.7%. Then what happens if the company, because sometimes it happens that the company, the share price is appreciating, and also the business itself is doing well to a point that they increase the dividend yield or the dividend. You can see, as you can see that the dividend yield also increases a bit as the dividend increases. In this case, the share price in 3 years, it doubled from 200 Rand per share to 400 Rand per share, but the dividend yield did decrease. But I mean, it's also important to note that the share price did increase. So that is our approach, is that we'll be looking to invest in securities that are in an uptrend. Hopefully those companies will increase the dividend if the businesses perform well. So now here's an example of a company that is on an uptrend and it has been paying dividend. Cartrack, it has been one of the best performers for year 2020. As you can see, if you go back all the way to 2017, Cartrack has been paying dividend and the share price has been appreciating. So here you're getting the best of both worlds. The dividends are increasing and also the share price is appreciating. And then another example is DRD Gold. As you can see, DRD Gold has been trending up for quite some time and then they've been paying dividends. Of course, what we want to put out as a disclaimer is that you can always speed up the information just to tell the story that you want to tell. As you can see in this case, DRD Gold, we are not showing. At some point, it has decreased a bit, but some companies, they would have decreased and went up. But just as something to keep in mind is that everyone that is giving you some information, they can omit a certain piece of information just to sell the story. And then again, so now we've come to an end of this. So in summary, we are saying that whenever you are choosing stocks or securities, whether it's stocks or ETFs, if you're using the dividend yield fundamental metrics, you must also keep in mind that the performance of the share price. Is the share price appreciating or does it go lower in value? If it goes lower in value, the dividend yield will increase, but the value of your stocks will decrease. But if the share price go up, the dividend yield will decrease, but at least there you've got a cushion of that price appreciation. So thank you, and we would like to point you out that can you please subscribe to our channel Mzansi Investor, where we are documenting our journey to financial freedom. And also, if you're interested in technical analysis, specifically using trend following, just check out Trend Trader and subscribe there. There we just use technical analysis. We don't share anything that is fundamental analysis because we are trend followers by heart. Just that now we want to share another piece of information on this channel, Mzansi Investor. Once again, thank you.